Hey squad, you're listening to the Poodle Squadcast hosted by Norapoodle. Clearly you have great taste, a spectacular sense of humor, and high intellect because you're listening to this podcast, which covers topics from mental health, sexual and gender identity, good food and fun times, to phobias and life's big questions.
Hey squad, it's your girl Norapoodle.
After getting feedback from last week's podcast, a lot of you guys said it sounded scripted, which I totally understand because it was. I want to steer away from that now. I had read that scripting was a good idea, so I went with it, but after actually doing the damn thing, I can tell it was a bad idea. So sorry about that. I hope you still enjoyed it. The content was good. But this week and from now on, I'm going to be doing things a little differently. Every single podcast that I put out will help me shape what really is the Poodle Squadcast, because I never really had any full intention with it. I just thought I'd be funny and be myself on air and everyone would love it. But there's definitely a lot more work put into a podcast than just showing up and talking into a microphone. My brother, Whitney, he actually gave me some really constructive criticism when he was listening to the intro about what was the Poodle Squadcast, mental health, sexual identity, gender identity, good times, fun, and food. He was saying that he thinks I should just focus on mental health and then let the really pertinent stuff like sexual identity and gender identity and anxiety, let those things be under the umbrella. And good times and food don't necessarily have to be a part of the Poodle Squadcast unless it's an anecdote leading into the topic that we're speaking about that day. Not that you need to know this, but the first minute and 30 seconds of this episode was recorded on Sunday, and from this point on, I recorded content because 30 plus minutes of my audio was ruined after 90 seconds. It was like Murphy's Law was guiding this episode. As you may recall, if you listened to last week's Poodle Squadcast, I'm in the process of quitting smoking cigarettes. And for the record, as of January 8th, I am 11 days cigarette free, and it feels great. I mean, I'm hacking up a lot of phlegm, which is super cute, but hey, that's part of the process. And since I'm quitting cigarettes, I decided to abstain from alcohol for a while too. And I'm also doing an apple cider vinegar detox. As I was getting ready to record this episode, I went into the kitchen to make my apple cider vinegar drink. So you're drinking vinegar, and I'm sure most of you have heard about the apple cider vinegar detox. It's super trendy, or it was. I don't know. I might be late, but I'm just doing it because I'm quitting cigarettes and I need a good detox. Anyways, I mix it with cherry juice because it masks the vinegar taste, and cherry juice is good for you. So I'm freezing, and it may or may not be that I have just put lotion on my hands, and I go to get the cherry juice out of the fridge, and the bottle is this weird size, and it's glass, and well, I ended up dropping it and dumping 75% of what was left in the $6 bottle of juice, and got cherry juice all over the outfit I was wearing to get me in the spirit of this podcast, which, hint, I was wearing rainbow leg warmers and a cute sporty shirt that says love. So you may or may not have been able to guess that in this episode of the Poodle Squadcast, we are going to talk about sexuality. My sexuality, to be exact. I'm going to discuss how my childhood experiences and my diagnoses of bipolar, ADHD, and ODD play into my sexuality. And it's funny because I decided to record this week's episode in the closet. The idea came to me because I was trying to think of a private place I could record that would have good acoustics, and the closet came to mind. It's a nice big walk-in closet, and there's a window, so there's natural light. It just seemed like an original idea, and I thought maybe I could produce something with even better sound quality than last week. A lot of you were saying I was too quiet, and Dan had a good audio track, so I think he was closer to the mic because we're sharing a microphone, but that's beside the point. You don't really need to know that. But I'm doing it solo this week, so I'm going to be a little more conscientious of being close to the mic and staying close to the mic, which it's funny because when I was going back through my stuff to edit that I told you was ruined, just as I start talking about sound quality, that's when the microphone goes crackly, and from then on it's unusable audio. And it's funny because I was giving Blake a shout out because I was like, hey Blake, thanks for the mic, and now I'm like, oh wow, great, thanks. I don't know if it was the mic or me, but I had to re-record this episode because of the quality that I was bragging about. So moving on, once I decided to record in the closet, I started hatching ideas for this week's topic. I thought since we'd be recording in the closet, sexuality would be an appropriate topic. And I don't know if I'm wrong about this, but I've never really heard the phraseology coming out of the closet associated with the bisexual experience. Like, do bisexual people have to announce it? You don't have to announce anything that you don't want to. I get that. But I mean, like, do you come out to your parents as bisexual? I don't know. These are all questions I have. And I've just apologized. I don't know if the phrase coming out of the closet is derogatory, but that's not my intent at all. I'm just using it because I'm recording in the closet and speaking about sexuality. So I think we'd all make that association at some point or another anyways. So let's get to it and open some uncomfortable wounds. My childhood was rather normal, except for a few things. And also, like, don't pick a fight about what is normal. We're all going to just assume that normal in this case means Midwest, middle class, family life in the city of Des Moines, Iowa. So I was raised in the religion of Christian Science, which was founded in 1879 by Mary Baker Eddy. And I'm going to read excerpts from christianscience.com because I'm not confident that I could explain it well. And also, just starting off, I want everyone to be clear on the fact that Christian Science is not Scientology. So, according to christianscience.com, in Christian Science, God is understood to be infinite love and so invariably good that a clear glimpse of this through prayer has the power to heal, redeem, and restore anyone. So that's like kind of the spirit of Christian Science. And also, it should be noted that Mary Baker Eddy outlined a few brief tenets rather than building a doctrinal belief system that summarize the essential points of Christian Science, all of which are rooted in the Bible. So just so we're clear here, Christian Science, like the spirit of it is that God is like a beautiful infinite love. And when you see that through prayer, you can heal and restore anything, which is why Christian Scientists don't go to the doctor. I don't want to get too hung up on this topic because that's not what we're talking about. But if you do want to talk to me about Christian Science, you can hit me up. Also, people ask, how is it science and how is it Christian? Like, so this is what christianscience.com says makes it Christian and science. Christian Science and its ministry rests entirely on the affirmation from the Bible that God is love. Those who practice it and strive to live the bold, compassionate, pure, generous love that Christ Jesus embodied and taught in his Sermon on the Mount. This is the heart of its Christianity. And Christian Science is also science because God is understood to be unchanging love, the infinite principle that is constant, universal, and inclusive, eternal, the only true power and source of all good. And it explains the spiritual laws of love that enabled Jesus to heal sickness and sin. And the word science implies it is reliable, consistent, provable, bringing healing to individuals and humanity through a deeper understanding of God. So now that I've given you a word salad of what Christian Science is, let's just agree that it's God's love and there's no doctrinal beliefs, but there are some tenets that we live by, and it's a lot of like love your neighbor and God is all blah, blah, blah. It's that kind of thing. So that was how I was raised in Christian Science, and part of my raising on the religion was that my whole family and I went to this Christian Science church camp in Missouri. I had been going since I was 6 years old, and my parents, like, they even worked there. My mom was in the kitchen, and my dad, he did grounds work. It was a family affair, and it was like, we're a family of six. Like, I have three older siblings and my two parents. We're a big family, and like being able to bond like that for every summer of my life, like, it was such a happy, warm place, and like somewhere where I made a lot of memories. But as you will soon find out, now I have a bad taste in my mouth over that camp and don't look so fondly on those memories. In 2004, I was beyond excited for camp that year because my older brother Whit was going to be one of my counselors. I was going to be in the high school program, which was called Junior Leadership. and they do activities during the day, co-ed, which is super exciting because before that, like in main camp, you don't do co-ed activities. So we were going to be in junior leadership, and my brother was going to be one of my counselors. But just a few weeks before camp, my sister Josie pulled me aside and told me that Whit was not going to be my counselor. And I was like, why? And she said, because he's gay. I was shooketh. I know this is going to sound crazy. Like, I was 14. You're not going to believe this, but like, I didn't really know what gay was, nor had I thought about it. It wasn't on my radar. It was a neutral word or territory to me. I think the extent of my exposure with that word might have been stupid, like middle school boys calling something gay, which like I still didn't even understand. But regardless, I didn't think I knew anyone who was gay, and it was just like, how was I supposed to know he was gay? No one talked about that. It wasn't weird that he never had girlfriends. It wasn't weird that he never had boyfriends. I guess he, to me, just like, I don't know what gay meant, and I don't know whatever. I'm sorry. I'm getting really tripped up about this because it was, to this day, it's one of the most jarring events in my life because it also brought this whole cloud of shame around sexuality and being gay. It made me wonder why it was wrong or what made it wrong, and why did camp say it's not okay for Whitney to be a counselor because he's gay. There's nowhere in Christian Science where it says being gay is not allowed, or at least to my knowledge there's not. And I'm not gonna lie, I went to the christianscience.com website and typed in homosexuality just to see if like maybe they had some like pray the gay away stuff, and alas and alack, homosexuality did not return any results, which I think is equally weird. Regardless, this event really shook me because I looked up to my brother so much and I idolized him. He's 8 years older than me. And, you know, I was 14, so he was super cool. He was 22. Wait, is that the right math? I don't even know. But, like, he was 22 and, you know, had all these awesome CDs. And he was in college and he was really good at everything he did. And so, of course, I was bummed when I found out he wasn't going to be my counselor. And up until then in my life, I had been a pretty good girl. I didn't drink. Some of my friends drank, but I didn't drink. And I kind of didn't think that I ever would. I would have still hung around the people who drank, but didn't think that I would need to or want to. And I'm gonna have to say, after this event, my ODD has always been a thing. And I don't remember if I told you guys last week, oppositional defiance disorder is basically, in a nutshell, vindictiveness, anger, and major problems with authority. So, another thing I wanted to touch psychologically is that overly harsh punishment can lead to oppositional defiance and feelings of depression and just major psychological issues for your children. So my parents went the wrong way in over disciplining me because once I found out that my brother was being shunned from the family Christian Science church camp, that switch flipped overnight. And I was just like, fuck the world. All that I know is not true anymore. And basically, this was a major event that imprinted on me. And I don't know how to explain it, but just from then on, it was like, I turned good to bad overnight. Like, I gave my first blowjob at church camp that summer. So yeah, acting out sexually, that's part of being bipolar and ADHD, and being impulsive. Those two things go with ADHD and bipolar. So this is when I was kind of like finding myself and realizing anything goes in the world, clearly. And I'm going to try it all. It's all for me. And I'm going to have fun while I do it. So now fast forward to age 16 or 17 with that in mind. And I don't want to get too detailed with these stories because they involve other people and I did not get consent with them to tell these stories. So I'm not going to tell details. But when I was 16 or 17, I was like super wasted with a girlfriend. We'd been friends for a really long time and we were in the same bed and like started getting handsy and doing stuff that I was like, whoa, I love her as a friend, but this is not romantic, although it feels really good. I was kind of into it and didn't see the problem with what was happening. I could tell after it happened, she was kind of grossed out by it, and not maybe grossed out, but like maybe ashamed, and that we would never talk about it and like never do it again. So it sucked for me because I was like, not that I would do it again with her because I could tell how much she was not into it, but like it opened that door of curiosity for me that I'm like, oh, this this is the next rabbit hole. Like, I want to know what it's like to be with a girl, like, who actually wants to be with me, because that was hot. But I was underage and I didn't really know. I for sure don't think that I knew any other, like, bisexual girls or like straight up lesbians. And if I did, then I'm sorry, girls, you should have come on to me, because I just didn't know you were there. But once I went to college, my first year I was at Simpson, which is in Indianola, which is like, I don't know, like a 30-minute drive from Des Moines. So I wasn't far away, but I was out of the house and I felt like I could kind of explore a little more. And okay, so even though I lived in a sorority, I never went down the road of like trying to sleep with a sorority sister or anything like that. Like, I, of course, appreciated the beauty in all of them except for the bitches, but low key behind the scenes I was cruising around on Craigslist trying to find someone who might be into like a girl on girl hookup. And at this time also I was dating a guy who was like 6 years older than me, and I was head over heels in love with him, but I was still feeling so curious, and if I dare say thirsty, from high school about like wanting to get with girls, that behind his back I was looking for girls online and stuff. But if you ask me, I don't think that's the worst offense. He and I broke up because he was cheating on me with a woman, which he's still with, by the way, so good for you guys. But I basically was innocently just seeing what was out there. What I ran into was a lot of couples like wanting me to be their unicorn. I'm sure you guys know what unicorn is, but if you don't, or if we have different definitions, a unicorn is like the perfect hot girl to be your threesome third in a hetero three-way with two girls and a guy. That was a really long-winded way of saying what I was trying to say, but you know what I mean. I was propositioned the unicorn position a few times, and with I think there were like 3 girls who I said yes I would do it, but like basically I was trying to like stay away from the guy the whole time, and definitely not into any of like the dude touching me thing. It would be more like I would allow him to touch her. That was it. Then later that summer my boyfriend broke up with me because of the girl that he was seeing behind my back. So I had like this huge ODD overreaction. My heart was broken by a man, so now I'm really gonna lean into this looking for a woman thing. I just thought that going after women, they would be less judgmental, but just as hot, if not hotter. And believe it or not, I also was searching for women on MySpace because that was still a thing. I would do the search and filter it by bisexual females near me. Somewhere between freshman and sophomore year of college, I was scouring MySpace using the search filter female bisexual near me, and I found this girl, and she and I met up at Merle Hay Mall. It turned out to not be a romantic match at all, but she was an exotic dancer, which intrigued me quite a bit. And at the end of our date, if you can call it that, she suggested that I come work at the Lumberyard with her. Now, if you don't know what the Lumberyard is, it's a strip club in Des Moines. If you ask me, it's the only one you should go to. The Lumberyard, where real men go to get wood. I didn't hesitate much because I was legitimately into the idea of being a dancer and also being able to give the guy who broke my heart, give him a final fuck you, because he like totally hated strippers for some reason and strip clubs. I don't know. So I was like, all right, so not only am I into girls and like I get to see a bunch of naked girls and dance with girls, but I get to give him like one final fuck you. Yeah, I'm gonna come work at the Lumberyard. That's how some life experiences pushed me further into my bisexuality. I also wanted to touch again. I think I'd been like touching on it throughout the stories anyway, but I just wanted to discuss how my diagnoses and my sexuality align. Being bipolar, having ADHD, and being oppositionally defiant are the perfect cocktail for my closeted bisexuality. A few symptoms of bipolar here, as described by the Brain and Behavioral Research Foundation. During manic episodes, there is a euphoric mood, racing thoughts, jumping between ideas like, ooh, do I like boys? Do I like girls? I don't know. I don't care. I'm in the mood for a girl tonight. Like, that's exactly how it is. And increased sexual behavior. Well, duh. Provocative, intrusive, or aggressive behavior. Okay, wow. Let's talk about me being a stripper. Like, me being a bisexual stripper. Yes, all the things I was doing were provocative, intrusive, and aggressive. But on the same token, I could have a bipolar depression episode and I'd be feeling sad and anxious and empty feeling. And so, of course, I'd be either too depressed to be seeking love and affection from someone, or I'd be desperately seeking it just so like I could feel something again and boost my self-esteem, if not for a moment. It was dramatic feelings of down and in the dumps. So that also, of course, plays into my sexuality. And the ADHD, wow, does that play into my impulsive bisexual behavior or what? Once again, according to Brain and Behavior Research Foundation, they describe ADHD as a neurobehavioral condition that interferes with a person's ability to pay attention and exercise age-appropriate inhibition. A person with ADHD is so inattentive or impulsively hyperactive or both that daily functioning at home, school, and work is compromised. So I couldn't agree with that more, especially in times that I was like going down the rabbit hole of looking for girls. I always had good grades and stuff. When I was in school, I would like during class, I would like be thinking about like wanting to hook up with a girl or like trying to text a girl. All these things where I was thinking about one thing, like I was hyper focused on one thing. But at other times in my life, like it'd be other things too. Like I've been that way about men as well, of course. But I see how like the ADHD and my hypersexuality has, I don't know if hypersexuality is a word, but my hyperactive nature mixed with the lack of inhibition and the high impulsivity, all that stuff just like made me want to go and find people to like make me feel good about myself. And like, since I was kind of cute, I could do it. Like, it's just like the perfect storm. So I think that's all we have for this week. I know it might seem a little like all over the place, but this was a really like sensitive topic for me. And I don't even have it all hashed out yet. Like currently I'm with a man and I believe that we are going to be together forever. But this doesn't change the fact that sometimes I see a woman and I'm attracted to her. I don't know. Maybe, not maybe. Of course there will be. There will be a lot more episodes about sexuality on the Poodle Squadcast. So be on the lookout for that. But this was just kind of like scratching the surface of how I identify sexually and how I think I got there and what I think it all means as far as my psychological diagnoses. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Thanks so much for listening. You can find me at www.poodlesquad.com. That's www.poodlesquad.com. And please find me on Twitter at Norapoodle. That's Norapoodle. And go to Instagram and like all my beautiful photos. My Instagram handle is once again Norapoodle. Find me on Spreaker, Stitcher, and stick with me. I hope you listen to next week's episode. Feel free to shoot me an email at Norapoodle@poodlesquad.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, Poodle Squadcast, and send me a message. There are plenty of ways to get in touch with me, so do it. All right, I'm off for now, guys. XOXO Norapoodle.